Ready to crush that pottery and porcelain caster interview. We're diving deep into interview questions today, but before we get to the good stuff, let's break down what this job really is all about.
Always a good place to start. According to RoleCatcher's Career Guide, a pottery and porcelain caster makes all sorts of pottery and porcelain pieces by filling molds with liquid clay.
All right, so there's the mold, there's the clay.
Right, but then they gotta meticulously remove any air bubbles and get rid of the excess material, and then carefully get the formed object out for finishing.
So we're talking about serious attention to detail, right? It's not just about being artistic. You got to be precise and technical too.
Exactly. It's a great blend of creativity and technical skill.
Love it. Okay, let's jump into those interview questions.
All right, let's do it.
First one on the list. What do we have?
It's a classic. How did you first become interested in pottery and porcelain casting? Sounds simple enough, right?
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
But it's your chance to let that passion shine through. Show the interviewer you're genuinely excited about this craft.
So it's not just, oh, I've always loved pottery.
Definitely not. You got to go deeper. Think back to those early experiences. What first sparked your love for pottery? Did you see a potter at a craft fair? Did you try making your first mug and it was a total disaster?
I love those stories. Those are always fun to hear.
Exactly. Those are the stories that make you memorable.
All right, so you've told your captivating pottery origin story. What comes next?
Be ready for a follow-up question. Something like, what about pottery casting specifically appeals to you? They want to know what sets casting apart from other pottery techniques for you. Is it the precision? Maybe it's the challenge of working with molds. Or maybe you're drawn to the ability to reproduce designs.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, what's question number 2?
Question number 2 gets into your practical knowledge. What is your experience working with different types of clay?
Okay, so they're trying to figure out if you can handle their specific materials.
Exactly. So think about the different clays you've worked with, earthenware, stoneware, porcelain. Talk about the challenges you faced and how you overcame them.
So don't just say, I've worked with stoneware. Talk about its properties, how it behaved.
Right. Maybe you learned a new technique to work with a certain clay because it was so finicky.
And what if you're new to the field? How do you approach this question?
Honesty is key. Emphasize your eagerness to learn. You could say something like, I'm most familiar with stoneware, but I'm really excited to learn about other clay types too.
I love that. Shows you're a go-getter. All right, question 3 takes us into the world of quality control. How do you ensure the quality of your finished products?
This is all about those meticulous details. They want to know you take pride in making top-notch pieces that meet their standards.
So walk them through your process.
Exactly. What's your drawing method to avoid cracks? How do you inspect each piece for those tiny imperfections?
Because a cracked mug or a wonky handle, that's not going to fly in a professional setting.
Exactly. And they might even throw in a follow-up question like, have you ever had to scrap a piece because of a quality issue? What did you do? It's a chance to show you're committed to excellence, even if it means starting over.
That's a great point. Okay, question 4 switches gears a bit. How do you stay up to date with industry trends and techniques?
Ah, the never-ending learning curve. This one's about showing them you're not content with what you already know. You're a lifelong learner.
Always growing and evolving. Right?
Exactly. So talk about workshops, courses, professional organizations, even blogs and podcasts, anything that shows you're keeping your finger on the pulse of the pottery world.
Yeah, that makes sense. And don't forget, RoleCatcher can be a huge help here. Their career guides and skill guides are packed with insights to keep you current.
Absolutely. They've got you covered. And be ready for a follow-up question like, what's a recent industry trend that has caught your eye, and how do you see it impacting your work? Be prepared to discuss a specific trend and what it means for the future of pottery.
Okay, great. On to question 5. This one dives into the world of custom work. How do you approach creating custom pieces for clients?
This is all about communication and collaboration. Think about your process. Do you start with a detailed consultation? Do you create sketches or mock-ups? How do you handle feedback and revisions?
Right, because sometimes clients have a vision, but maybe it's a little, well, unique.
That's putting it mildly sometimes. But you got to show them you can translate those visions into real, tangible ceramic pieces.
I love it. And don't forget to have a specific example ready to share, a custom project you're really proud of.
Yes. Walk them through the challenges, the collaboration, and how you made the client happy in the end.
And what about those challenging client requests, the ones that make you scratch your head?
Those are the best learning experiences. Be ready for a follow-up like, Have you ever dealt with a tricky client request? How did you handle it? It's your chance to shine. Show them you can problem solve and stay professional, even when things get tough.
Okay, before we jump to the next question, let's take a quick detour.
Oh, I like detours. Where are we going?
The RoleCatcher Career Guide mentions the potential for self-employment in this field.
That's right. It's something a lot of pottery and porcelain casters think about. Many end up branching out on their own, starting their own businesses.
So that entrepreneurial spirit
Mm,
might be worth weaving into your answers.
absolutely. It shows you're ambitious and thinking about the future. All right, back on track. Question 6 tackles organization. How do you prioritize and manage your workload?
Especially important in a fast-paced studio, right?
For sure. They want to know you can handle deadlines, juggle multiple projects, and stay calm under pressure. Talk about your systems planners, apps, to-do lists, whatever keeps you on top of things.
Share your strategies. Show them you're proactive and organized.
Right. And be prepared to give a specific example. You could say, when I have multiple deadlines, I prioritize tasks based on urgency. For example, if a client needs a piece for an event, that order gets bumped to the top of the list.
Okay, now we're cooking. Question number 7 goes deep into the technical stuff. What is your experience with kiln firing and glazing techniques?
Ah, the heart of the pottery process. Think about those kilns, electric, gas, wood-fired. What are their quirks? How did you adjust your firing schedules and temperatures? Did you ever have any mishaps?
Oh yeah, those kiln surprises. And glazing. Tell them about your experience with different types, matte, gloss, crackle, the whole shebang.
Exactly. And be ready for a follow-up, like, have you ever had a glaze malfunction? What did you learn? It shows you can learn from your mistakes and adapt your techniques.
Mistakes are just opportunities for growth, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of growth, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your practice interview responses and give you personalized feedback.
That's right. It's like having a personal coach in your pocket, helping you refine your answers and your delivery. Okay, question 8. This one is crucial for this role. What is your experience with mold making and casting techniques?
This is where they're really sizing you up, making sure you understand the core skills of a pottery and porcelain caster. So, dive into the nitty-gritty. What mold-making materials have you worked with? Plaster, silicone, resin, and what about those casting methods? Slip casting, solid casting, press molding. Lay it all out.
Don't be shy. Show them what you're made of.
Exactly. And if you've developed any special techniques to, say, prevent air bubbles or create a super smooth finish, now's the time to brag a little.
All right, we're on the home stretch. Question 9 is all about problem solving. Can you describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a problem during the production process?
Uh-oh, something went wrong. Now what? They're testing your ability to think on your feet, solve problems, and come up with creative solutions.
Essential skills for any pottery pro. So tell the story. A specific example of a challenge you faced. Maybe you found a crack in a mold or glaze, did something totally unexpected.
Right. Walk them through how you figured out what was wrong and what you did to fix it. Show them you can think critically and learn from experience.
And it's okay if you didn't solve the problem right away. Being honest about your struggles shows humility.
Exactly. They might ask, how has this experience changed how you approach pottery? It's a chance to show them you've grown and learned from those tough situations.
All right, final question. What is your approach to teaching or mentoring others in pottery and porcelain casting?
Sharing the knowledge. Even though not every pottery casting job involves teaching, it's a valuable skill.
Being a team player and helping others learn, that's always a plus.
For sure. So if you've got teaching experience, share those stories. How did you help someone learn and grow as a potter?
And even if you don't have formal teaching experience, talk about your approach. Do you like hands-on learning? Do you encourage patience and experimentation?
Exactly. You could say something like, I believe in creating a supportive environment where people feel comfortable asking questions and trying new things.
Perfect. And be prepared for a follow-up question, like, what's the most important piece of advice you'd give to someone new to pottery and porcelain casting? It's your chance to leave them with a lasting impression, to share your wisdom and your passion for this craft.
Great advice. And that wraps up our deep dive into the top 10 interview questions for a pottery and porcelain caster.
Now remember, these are just a starting point. The actual questions you get might be different. It all depends on the employer and the specific role. But if you prepare thoughtful answers for these types of questions and use RoleCatcher to fine-tune your approach, you'll be in great shape.
Absolutely. You'll be ready to knock that interview out of the park.
Welcome back. In part 1, we tackled those interview questions. Now let's shift gears and talk about what happens after you land that job. What's your future in this field look like?
Okay, yeah, we prep for the interview, but what about the actual career? What kind of growth can someone expect in this role? Well, the RoleCatcher Career Guide outlines 4 main stages: entry-level, junior, experienced, and senior. Each stage comes with, new responsibilities, new things to learn.
Okay, let's break those down. Let's start with entry level.
Yeah.
I'm picturing someone fresh out of school, maybe an apprenticeship, just eager to, dive in.
Exactly. At this stage, it's all about mastering those core techniques, filling molds, removing air bubbles, getting that cast out carefully, smoothing those surfaces.
Lots of hands-on work, building those foundational skills.
Absolutely. And you might be assisting more experienced casters, helping them prepare molds, mixing the clay, that kind of thing. It's a great time to just soak it all in, learn from the pros.
Okay, so paying your dues, learning the ropes. What happens next?
Well, as you move into that junior level, you'll start taking on more responsibility. You might be trusted with more intricate pieces, designs that require a little more finesse or maybe some special techniques.
So that's where your creativity and problem-solving skills start to come in.
Right. And you might also get involved in some of the other tasks around the studio, cleaning and maintaining equipment, maybe mixing glazes, loading and unloading the kilns. You get a more well-rounded view of the whole process.
So it's not just about casting anymore. You're getting your hands dirty with all aspects of pottery.
Exactly. It's a great way to broaden your skill set and figure out what you really enjoy.
All right, so you've mastered the basics. You're comfortable with the different tasks. What's next in the career progression?
Well, as you gain more experience and move into that experience level, you might find yourself leading a small team. That means good communication and leadership skills become super important. Think back to times when you've had to guide others, delegate tasks, or, maybe smooth over a conflict within a team.
So you're not just responsible for your own work anymore. You're responsible for helping others succeed as well.
Exactly. And you might also get pulled into some of the more challenging aspects of production, troubleshooting those tricky problems, experimenting with new materials or techniques, maybe even training some of those newer casters.
Sounds like there's a lot of opportunity for growth and learning, even at that more senior level.
Definitely. And even at that senior level, the career guide emphasizes continuous learning, seeking out advanced workshops, keeping up with the latest trends and techniques. You never stop learning in this field.
I love that. It's not about just reaching a certain level and then coasting. You're always pushing yourself to learn more, do more, be more.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher's AI can be a great resource for that ongoing learning. It can help you, spot those gaps in your skills, suggest courses or workshops that might be a good fit. It can even connect you with mentors in the field.
So it's like having a personalized career coach in your pocket.
Exactly. Guiding you every step of the way.
Okay, before we wrap up this part, let's circle back to something we touched on earlier, the possibility of self-employment. The career guide highlighted that as a big plus for this field. A lot of potters and casters end up starting their own businesses. What should someone consider if they're thinking about going that route?
Well, first things first, you got to have a solid business plan. Figure out who your ideal customer is, what your pricing strategy will be, how you're going to produce and market your work.
Oh, so it's not just about being a great potter, you got to be a savvy business person too.
Right. It's a whole different skill set, but it's essential if you want to be successful. You'll also need to think about equipment. Do you have a kiln? Do you need a dedicated studio space? And in this day and age, having a website, social media presence, that's all super important for getting your work out there.
Yeah, the internet has totally changed the game for artists and makers.
Totally. And networking is crucial too. Building relationships with other artists, with galleries, with retailers. That's how you get your work seen and start building a customer base.
So it's a combination of passion, talent, business smarts, and a whole lot of hustle.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. But for those with that entrepreneurial spirit, it can be incredibly rewarding. You get to be your own boss, set your own hours, create the work that you're passionate about.
It sounds like a dream come true for a lot of artists.
It definitely can be. Now, in part 3 of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the more advanced techniques and innovations that are shaping the future of pottery and porcelain casting. We'll talk about the role of technology, the rise of sustainable practices. It's an exciting time to be in this field, so be sure to join us for that.
We've talked about interview prep, we've explored career paths, and now it's time to look ahead. What's on the horizon for pottery and porcelain casting?
Well, it's a really interesting time to be in this field. Pottery, it's such an ancient craft, but it's constantly evolving.
I'm fascinated by the role of technology in all this. We touched on 3D printing and mold making earlier.
Yeah.
Are there other advancements that are really shaking things up?
Oh, absolutely. 3D printing is a game changer, no doubt about it. It allows for these incredibly detailed and intricate molds, pushing the limits of what we can do with casting.
So designs that would have been impossible or just ridiculously hard to create with traditional methods, now they're within reach.
Exactly. And it's not just the complexity. 3D printing brings this incredible level of precision and repeatability.
Hmm.
It's essential for consistent, high-quality castings.
I can see how that would be huge in a production setting. What about other tech advancements?
Oh, there are a bunch. Like digital kilns, those advanced temperature control systems are helping potters get much more predictable results when firing their pieces.
So less guesswork, more control over the whole process, from design to finished product.
Exactly. It's opening up so many creative possibilities for artists to explore forms and textures that they just couldn't have imagined before.
You know, we can't talk about the future without talking about sustainability. It's a hot topic in every industry. How is it impacting the world of pottery?
The sustainability is definitely a top priority for a lot of potters these days. There's a much greater awareness of how traditional pottery practices affect the environment, especially energy use and waste.
So what are some of the ways potters are addressing these concerns?
Well, a big one is in the choice of materials. More and more potters are turning to locally sourced clays and glazes. Cuts down on the carbon footprint of shipping things all over the place.
Makes sense? And what about energy use during firing? Any innovations there?
Oh, definitely. We're seeing more energy-efficient kilns being developed, and potters are rediscovering some of those older firing techniques, like wood firing or raku, which can be much more energy efficient than the typical electric or gas kilns.
Fascinating. Now, how about waste reduction? Any ways to minimize waste during the pottery making process?
Absolutely. Many potters are all about reclaiming and reusing those clay scraps, and they're trying out new mold-making materials that are biodegradable. Some even incorporate recycled materials into their pieces.
That's incredible. It's inspiring to see how creative people can get when it comes to sustainability.
It really is. And the sustainability push, it's not just about being environmentally conscious, it's about a different approach to pottery altogether, a more mindful and ethical one.
I like that, thinking about the whole journey of a piece,
Yeah.
right? From where the materials come from to the final product.
Exactly. And that really resonates with a lot of people nowadays. They want beautiful handmade pieces, but they also care about how they were made. So it's more than just trends and tech, it's a change in values, a desire to create pottery that has meaning and is sustainable.
Couldn't agree more. So for
Mhm.
anyone out there who is thinking about a career in this field, or even if you're just a passionate hobbyist, the main thing is to stay curious, embrace that learning curve, and always be open to new possibilities.
I second that. The world of pottery is always in motion, and those who are willing to grow with it, try new things, and push their boundaries, those are the folks who will shape its future.
Well said. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of pottery and porcelain casting. We had a blast exploring this fascinating craft with you.
We hope you found it informative, inspiring, and maybe even got you thinking about picking up some clay yourself. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, there's something truly magical about creating beautiful things with your own hands. Thanks for joining us.